30 people vanished without a trace. I was next, trapped in a nightmare where my mind wasn't my own. What happened next will haunt you forever. My name is Ethan Hale, and I'm a government agent trained for high-level fieldwork, covert, surveillance, infiltration, and psychological profiling. But nothing, I swear, nothing prepared me for what happened in Black Pine. It started like any other case. Quiet mountain town, population, a few hundred. But over the past 3 years, 30 people had gone missing. No witnesses, no bodies, no clues. The files were redacted so heavily I could barely read them. The only thing clear was that every agent sent before me never came back. I wasn't allowed to carry a weapon. I was told it would disrupt the natural environment of the town. Whatever that meant. I arrived with a fake name, a backpack, and a burner phone. My cover journalist writing a piece on mountain ghost towns. The town was off. It looked normal at first. Wooden houses, an old diner, a church, even a bookstore. That smelled like wet leaves, but there were no children, no laughter. People stared a little too long, and the air, it had this electric stillness, like something was holding its breath. That night, I stayed in the only inn. The front desk woman, Claire, was friendly, but robotic. She offered me peppermint tea and kept smiling like she was trained to. When I mentioned the disappearances, she froze for a second, blinked, then smiled wider. "There's nothing unusual here," she said. "You should leave before nightfall." At 2:37 a.m. I woke up to static. My phone was on, screen flashing. I hadn't touched it. There was a single message. "Don't trust them, not even Claire." I tried to trace the signal, but it disappeared in seconds. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Inside my room. I jumped up, heart racing, but the room was empty. The window was open. Outside, standing perfectly still in the cold fog, were 3 people in hospital gowns. They just stood there, watching. I blinked, and they were gone. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Claire acted like nothing happened. "Did you sleep well?" she asked, pouring me more tea. I wanted to ask her what was going on, but I felt watched. I needed proof first, so I started investigating. The library was the only place with town records. The old librarian looked half asleep, but the files were there, except every page had been edited. Some names scratched out, some pages glued together. And in every group photo of the town, there were faces blurred out, literally blurred, as if someone smeared the ink or burned them out digitally before digital even existed. That night, I followed Claire after her shift. She walked straight through the fog-covered woods behind the church. I stayed low, barely breathing. She stopped near a giant tree and opened a small, rusted metal door hidden in the ground. I'd never seen it before. I waited until she left. Then, I pried it open and climbed down. It wasn't a cellar, it was a tunnel, and what I found below should not exist. I had to crouch low in the tunnel. The walls were damp, the air sharp with metal and mold. My flashlight flickered, like something didn't want me down there. The deeper I went, the more I felt it. A pressure, like 1,000 whispers, were pressing against my skull. Then I found it. A hallway made of smooth concrete, hidden beneath the forest. Clean, sterile. Not old like the rest of the town. This was modern, built with purpose. Along the wall, strange symbols were etched, some sort of code. Not language I recognized. I took a picture, but the moment I did, my phone screen glitched and went black. No power. Dead. I followed the hallway until it opened into a chamber. Inside were rows of monitors, all watching different locations in the town, the diner, the church, the school. even my room at the inn. They were being watched. I was being watched. Suddenly, a screen blinked on, one I hadn't touched. It showed a woman, pale. Hair was damp like she'd just come from the rain. She looked straight at me. "Agent Hale," she said, "you were warned not to come." I froze. She knew who I was. The screen shut off. I turned to leave, but that's when I saw it. Something glinting on a metal desk in the corner. A flash drive tucked under a dusty folder marked with my agency's seal. I grabbed both. The folder had lists of names. The missing people, their ages, the dates they disappeared, locations. But next to each one a final line: subject transferred, consciousness mapping complete. Before I could make sense of it, the lights went out. Dark. Silent. Then, footsteps. Dozens of them. I didn't wait to count. I ran. Back up the tunnel, heart pounding so hard I could hear it echo. Just as I reached the surface, I felt something grab my ankle. Cold. Bony. I kicked hard and scrambled out, slamming the door shut and covering it with branches. When I got back to town, it was eerily quiet. No cars, no dogs barking, not even wind. I went straight to the inn to pack my things, but the moment I stepped inside, Claire was waiting for me. So was someone else. A man in a dark grey suit. He wasn't local. No dust on his shoes, no wrinkles on his face. He looked clean. Artificial. "Mr. Hale," he said, smiling too widely. "We need to talk." Claire stood beside him, completely still. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't blinking. "We gave you a chance to leave," he said. "But now that you've seen it, you'll have to stay." I slowly reached into my jacket, pretending to itch my side. He noticed. "No need for weapons," he said calmly. "You're already part of the experiment." "Experiment?" I asked. He nodded, toward Claire. She was one of the first. Then he snapped his fingers. Claire turned to me and spoke, but it wasn't her voice. It was my own.
"Ethan Hale, born 1991, recruited in 2016, clearance level 5.
My chest tightened. She was repeating classified data, my file, word for word. "What the hell is this?" I said, backing away. "We're not taking your body," the man said. "We just need what's inside your mind." That was the last thing I heard before the room began to spin. Everything turned cold and grey, and then I woke up in a white room, alone, no doors, no windows, but I wasn't paralyzed. There was a speaker in the ceiling. It crackled. "Let's begin," said the voice. "Tell us what you remember." The voice kept asking the same question. "Tell us what you remember." At first I said nothing. I just sat in that white room, staring at the speaker. No doors, no seams on the wall. It was like I had been dropped into a cube that didn't exist in the real world. But the more I sat there, the more things started to blur. I tried to remember my training, my handler, my first assignment. But the memories were fading, like pieces of me were being deleted. I pressed my palms to my temples and yelled, "I remember everything. I remember my name, my training, my..." But when I looked down at my hands, they were shaking, and for a moment, they weren't mine. They looked older, bruised. Someone else's veins. Someone else's skin. I wasn't just trapped. I was being rewritten. The voice returned. "You are adapting," it said, much faster than Subject 27. I stood up and screamed at the ceiling, "Where am I? What are you doing to me?" A hiss of air filled the room, and suddenly the white walls faded into glass. I was no longer alone. On the other side was a massive observation chamber. Scientists, machines, screens showing footage of the town, real-time surveillance. They were watching everyone, not just me. I saw Claire walking in circles. Her eyes were blank. I saw people I hadn't even met yet. One man was screaming in his living room. Another was standing in the middle of the forest, crying like a child. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. Me. I was in the town, walking toward the church, smiling, talking to people, but I was also in the glass room, watching. "No," I whispered. "That's not me, that's not me." "It is you," the voice said. "The version we rebuilt. The one we needed." And then, for the first time, the wall in front of me slid open. A tall man in a lab coat walked in. Gray eyes, thin lips, calm. "Ethan Hale," he said. "I'm Dr. Van. You're not the first agent we've corrected." "Corrected?" I spat. "You're erasing people." "We're saving them," he replied coldly. 30 subjects, all broken, addicted, traumatized, useless to the system. Here we remove the pain, we reprogram them into something clean. You're brainwashing them. We're improving them. He walked closer. "You should be honored. Out of 30, only 2 survived the process without full collapse. You're the third." I backed away. "I'm not staying here. You can't keep me." He tilted his head. "Oh, Ethan, you're not in the room." He stepped aside, and behind him a second version of me stepped forward, smiling, calm. He looked at me and said, "You should rest. I'll handle the mission now." I couldn't breathe. They didn't want to erase me. They wanted to replace me. I stood frozen, face to face with myself. The other me had the same scar on the chin, the same tired eyes, even the same nervous habit of tapping his thumb against his palm. But his stare, it was empty, hollow. Like the soul had been scooped out and replaced with perfect programming. He stepped closer, and for a moment, I couldn't tell who was the real Ethan anymore. Then he spoke. "I've reviewed your memories. You're full of guilt, anger, secrets you can't even admit to yourself. That's not ideal for an agent." "You're not real," I said. "You're a copy," he smiled. "I'm the improvement." Dr. Van placed a hand on his shoulder. "This version doesn't second guess. He doesn't flinch. He obeys." "And what happens to me?" I asked. "You rest," the doctor said. He gestured, and the room around me began to dim. Gas hissed. I tried to hold my breath, but it didn't matter. Whatever they pumped into that room, it didn't knock me out. It pulled me under. I fell into a place that wasn't real. A fake town. Like I had been dropped inside a simulation. Everyone I passed smiled at me. Too wide, too perfect. They waved and spoke the same words again and again, like puppets stuck in a loop. And then I saw Claire. She was standing at the same spot. I first met her, the gas station, but when she turned to me, she didn't speak. She reached out and placed something in my hand, a lighter, and on the side it was scratched with a single word, "Wake." That's when I realized Claire had left part of herself behind. She was fighting to the programming, just like I had to. I closed my eyes and focused on the pain in my chest, the fear, the anger, the real emotions, the ones they were trying to erase. I held them tight, and when I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the simulation anymore. I was in a chair, wires plugged into my head, monitors all around me, blinking fast. I had somehow broken through the virtual layer they forced me into. My brain wasn't fully mapped yet. I had a chance. I ripped off the wires, stumbled out of the chair and ran. Down a corridor, sirens blaring now, lights flashing red. Someone shouted behind me. "Subject 31 is loose." I grabbed a steel pipe from a wall rack and kept running. My legs were numb, like I was learning how to walk again, but adrenaline pushed me forward. At the end of the hallway was a locked door. I slammed the pipe into the panel again and again until sparks flew and the lock clicked open. Beyond it was a lab, dark, abandoned, and in the middle a large glass tank. Inside it floated something I can't forget, another me, eyes shut, still forming. There weren't just one or two of us, there were dozens, all versions of me. All are in different states of creation. Some were missing parts, others looked dead. One opened his eyes for a second and stared right at me. He mouthed a single word, "Run." And I did. Out of the lab, up the stairs, through a loading bay. I fought two guards, both of them robotic, mechanical beneath their fake skin. I made it to the forest. Cold air hit me like a slap. I didn't stop running until the trees blurred past me and the ground tilted beneath my feet. I collapsed. But before I blacked out, I heard something in the wind. Footsteps, real ones, coming closer. And then, a woman's voice.
"Ethan Hale,"
she whispered. "You're not done yet." I thought I was free. I thought escaping that nightmare, lab, was the end. But it wasn't. The woman who found me wasn't a stranger, it was Claire. Her eyes were sharp, haunted, but focused. "We don't have much time," she said. "They're coming for you. Again." Together we made our way to a small cabin deep in the woods. She told me the truth, the whole truth. The experiment wasn't just about agents. It was about erasing anyone who could expose them. She was part of a resistance inside the town. People who never disappeared but fought from the shadows. And now, I was their last hope. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. We planned to hack into the mainframe controlling the project, to destroy the files, the clones, everything. But just as we got close, I felt something cold in my chest. A sharp electric sting. My vision blurred. Claire caught me before I fell. "You're poisoned," she gasped. "It's a failsafe. If you try to run, they stop you." I fought the darkness creeping in, but my mind started slipping. Suddenly, I was back in that white room. Only this time, it wasn't me sitting there, it was the copy. He smiled, the perfect Ethan, calm and clear. "Welcome back," he said. "I was the experiment now, not the man, not the spy, just a memory, a ghost trapped inside the machine." And as the door sealed shut, I understood the truth no one ever told me. The real Ethan Hale disappeared long ago. The one who escaped? He was just the shadow of a man who never existed.